Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Straight Guy K-Drama Reviews. This week's episode is extra special because for the first time ever, I'm not going to review a K-drama. I'm actually going to review a K-pop documentary. So this week, I'm reviewing the BlackPink documentary, Light Up the Sky. So let's get started. Now, I want to start with a disclaimer. I'm not a Blackpink fan. Okay, so prior to watching this documentary, I've never seen any of their music videos, any of their movies. I don't know who the members were. So if I miss anything important or I miss any kind of context, please be lenient. Okay, now, let's talk about the documentary itself. So, the documentary is actually on the journey of Blackpink and its individual members. So, it starts from the very beginning, like where they were born, because they were born in different places around the world. And, it takes them through their journey, through their training, and then, of course, their success, which we could say that it crescendos in being the first Korean girl group to ever perform at Coachella. So, it's a pretty standard documentary. You start from the humble beginnings, the hardships, and then you get to the success, right? So, it's a pretty standard documentary in that way. All right, number three, the theme. So, the theme that I really like with this documentary is the duality of the K pop system. So, there's two sides to it, right? There's fans of K-pop, and then there are people who are sort of worried about how the K-pop system gets its members, right? Because um, a lot of the girl group members, the boy group members, they undergo intense training, right? I think this documentary, they were talking about some of it, like they would train for 13 hours for 13 days straight, right? They only get one day off. So, the cons of this is, of course, they start them very young. They train them for several years. So a lot of these kids actually miss out on their childhood. They miss their family. They miss their friends. They miss the high school experience. So there's that, right? But the pros, I think, is that once these groups are launched, they're so polished from all of their training, right? And you can see it even in the interviews, even in the videos. Like all the girls from Blackpink, they're so ready for the camera. They are all great interviews. They give great answers. So that means they were highly trained. And so what comes out is always a product that is really beautiful. And this is something that's hits me personally because I'm one of the few that got really lucky, right? When I started my TV show, I was very unpolished. Like, I knew a lot about cooking shows and I cook very well, but I have never been on TV before. So when I started my cooking show, I was very unpolished. Um, and I was very lucky that the network allowed me to grow into my job. So by the second season, then I got a little bit more polished. By the time I got into my fifth year, everything was just second nature to me. So I'm thinking maybe there is a method to the madness in training K-pop, right? If you spend a lot of time training these boys and girls, when they finally come out, they make less mistakes, they make better products. So I do get the method there. So it's very interesting. It's up for you to decide if it's a good system or a bad system. Okay, number four, my favorite. So there's four members of Blackpink. I figured I should probably pick one that's a favorite. Now, personally, I think that Jennie is the cutest, like from the looks, from the way she talks, and the way she describes herself as a harmony or a grandmother, because a lot of her she has a lot of body aches and pains. But I think I identify with Rosie the most. I hope I pronounced that properly. Is it Rosie or Rose? I think her creative process, the way she feels about putting her songs out there, that's very similar to me. Like I always worry if my recipes, if my cooking shows are going to be well received. My books as well. I really like this thought that Rosie had, which is the irony, right? Because she's like being a pop superstar. She's a singing sensation, but at the same time, that particular dream is also preventing her from having more time to write her songs, which is also a dream, right? So it's so ironic that you are being busy, too busy to do your passion because you're doing your passion. So that's such an interesting insight. Number five, Verdict. So I think it's a great watch. I would say I would recommend this to even non K-pop fans, non BlackPink fans like me. I think it's easy to watch, and whether or not the content was heavily edited by their bosses, right? Like maybe there were some parts of the interview that were removed to make sure that their image is always good, but it doesn't matter. I think that you know all the girls were very smart, they were very likable and very passionate. So it always makes for good TV. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a really great look at the K-pop training system. All right, that's it. That's my really quick review of the K-pop Blackpink documentary, Light Up the Sky. So as usual, I would love to hear your comments down below on how I did reviewing my first K-pop anything. Right? Did I make mistakes? Did I pronounce anybody's name wrong? Just let me know. And then I'm going back to reviewing K-dramas next week. So comment down below on the next K-drama that you want me to review. And as usual, you can watch my other videos right now.